The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is one of the most enduring and complex conflicts in the world, spanning over a century of strife and struggle. It's a territorial, political and religious dispute, with far-reaching global implications, affecting not just the region but international relations as well. The conflict is rooted in the late 19th century, a period marked by significant geopolitical changes. This was a time of rising nationalism, where various groups sought to assert their identity and sovereignty. For Jews, it was also a time of increasing anti-Semitism in Europe, leading to widespread persecution and displacement. This led to the emergence of Zionism, a movement advocating for a Jewish state in their ancestral homeland, Palestine, as a refuge from persecution. At the time, Palestine was part of the Ottoman Empire, a region known for its diverse population and cultural richness. It was home to a large Arab population who had lived there for centuries, cultivating the land and building communities. The arrival of Jewish immigrants heightened tensions as both groups laid claim to the same land. These tensions escalated throughout the 20th century, leading to numerous conflicts and confrontations. They culminated in the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, a pivotal event that reshaped the region's political landscape. This war resulted in the establishment of Israel and the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, creating a refugee crisis that persists to this day. The conflict has continued ever since, marked by wars, uprisings, and failed peace negotiations, each adding layers of complexity and suffering. It is a conflict that has deeply impacted both Israelis and Palestinians, affecting every aspect of their lives. It continues to fuel instability in the Middle East, influencing regional politics and security. Understanding the historical context of this conflict is crucial to grasp its current dynamics and the challenges to peace. This includes exploring the key events, ideologies and actors that have shaped the current situation, from early Zionist leaders to contemporary political figures. This video delves into the historical roots of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, providing a comprehensive overview. It examines the origins of Zionism, the Balfour Declaration, the 1948 war and their lasting impacts, and the rise of Palestinian resistance movements which have played a significant role in the ongoing struggle. It explores the major issues that continue to impede peace, such as territorial disputes and mutual distrust. These include the status of Jerusalem, Israeli settlements, and the broader geopolitical implications, and the Palestinian right of return, a deeply emotional and contentious issue for many Palestinians. It concludes by emphasizing the urgent need for a peaceful resolution, one that addresses the core issues and aspirations of both peoples. This conflict has caused immeasurable suffering for both sides, leaving deep scars and a legacy of pain. It is a conflict that demands global attention and a commitment to finding a lasting solution, one that ensures peace and justice for all involved. Theodor Herzl, a Jewish journalist, is considered the father of modern Zionism. His book, The Jewish State, argued that the only solution to anti-Semitism was the creation of a Jewish state. Herzl believed that this state should be located in Palestine. Palestine held religious significance for Jews as their ancient homeland. Historical expert Jewish migration to Palestine, then part of the Ottoman Empire, began slowly in the late 19th century. These early Zionist pioneers, driven by a vision of building a Jewish homeland, established agricultural settlements. They revived Hebrew as a spoken language. However, their arrival was met with suspicion by the local Arab population. The Arabs were wary of the newcomers' intentions and feared being displaced from their land. As Jewish immigration increased in the early 20th century, tensions between the Jewish and Arab communities escalated. The British, who assumed control of Palestine after World War I, faced the increasingly difficult task of balancing the aspirations of both groups. The stage was set for a conflict that would only intensify in the decades to come. The seeds of discord had been sown, and the struggle for control of Palestine was about to enter a new and more volatile phase. This declaration, named after British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour, has been interpreted in vastly different ways by Israelis and Palestinians. For Zionists, the Balfour Declaration represented international recognition of their right to a homeland in Palestine. It was seen as a major diplomatic victory, legitimizing their aspirations for self-determination. The declaration fueled Jewish immigration to Palestine, further altering the demographic balance in the region. Historical expert. However, for Palestinians, the Balfour Declaration was a betrayal. They saw it as a colonial power, promising their land to another people. At the time, Palestinians made up the vast majority of the population in Palestine. They viewed the declaration as a violation of their right to self-determination. The Balfour Declaration exacerbated tensions between Jews and Arabs in Palestine. It failed to clearly define the rights of the non-Jewish population. The declaration did not address the political aspirations of the Palestinian Arabs. This omission would have significant consequences in the years to come, contributing to the escalation of violence and the eventual outbreak of war. Section 4. Partition and Exodus, the Birth of Israel and the 1948 War. This chapter delves into the pivotal events that led to the creation of the State of Israel and the subsequent conflict that reshaped the Middle East. As World War II ended, the situation in Palestine reached a boiling point. Tensions between Jewish and Arab communities had been simmering for decades, but the aftermath of the war intensified these conflicts. The British, unable to manage the escalating violence between Jewish and Arab communities, announced their withdrawal from Palestine. Their mandate over the region had become untenable, and they sought to extricate themselves from the growing chaos. The issue of Palestine's future was handed over to the newly formed United Nations. The international community was now tasked with finding a solution to the complex and volatile situation.
In 1947, the UN proposed a partition plan. This plan aimed to create a peaceful resolution by dividing the land into separate Jewish and Arab states. This plan divided Palestine into two states, one Jewish and one Arab, with Jerusalem under international control. The city of Jerusalem held significant religious and cultural importance for both communities, making its status a contentious issue. The Jewish leadership accepted the plan, although it meant accepting less territory than they had hoped for. They saw it as a pragmatic step towards establishing a Jewish homeland. However, the Arab leadership vehemently rejected the partition, viewing it as an illegitimate seizure of their land. They believed that the plan unfairly favored the Jewish population and disregarded the rights of the Arab inhabitants.
The UN partition plan was never implemented. The rejection by the Arab states and the subsequent violence made it impossible to enforce. Following the British withdrawal in 1948, war erupted between the newly declared State of Israel and neighboring Arab states. The conflict was immediate and intense, with both sides suffering significant casualties. This conflict, known as the 1948 Arab-Israeli War or the War of Independence, resulted in a decisive victory for Israel. The new state managed to secure its borders and establish itself despite the overwhelming odds.
The war had a profound impact on the demographics of the region. The population shifts and the creation of new borders altered the landscape of the Middle East. During the conflict, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were expelled from their homes, becoming refugees in neighboring Arab countries. This mass exodus created a humanitarian crisis that persists to this day. This mass displacement, known as the Nakba, or catastrophe in Arabic, remains a central issue in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The memories and consequences of the Nakba continue to influence the region's politics and society.
The 1948 war solidified Israel's existence. The new state emerged from the conflict with a sense of national identity and determination, but left the Palestinian people without a state. The loss of their homes and land left a deep scar on the Palestinian community. It also created a legacy of bitterness and resentment that continues to fuel the conflict today. The unresolved issues from 1948 have perpetuated cycles of violence and mistrust. The war had far-reaching consequences for the Middle East, shaping the region's political landscape and contributing to decades of instability. The ripple effects of the 1948 conflict are still felt across the region, influencing contemporary geopolitics and international relations. Section 5. Rise of Resistance, the PLO, Hamas and the Palestinian Struggle. In the aftermath of the 1948 war, Palestinian national identity solidified, becoming a unifying force for the people. The Palestinian people, scattered across refugee camps and the diaspora, yearned for their homeland and the right to self-determination. This deep-seated desire for a return to their ancestral lands fueled their collective resolve. This longing gave rise to various resistance movements, each with its own ideology and strategies for achieving Palestinian liberation. These movements were diverse, reflecting the complex nature of the Palestinian struggle.
The Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO, founded in 1964, emerged as the dominant Palestinian political force. It sought to unify the different factions under a single banner. Led by Yasser Arafat, the PLO initially employed guerrilla warfare and armed struggle against Israel. Arafat's leadership was pivotal in shaping the PLO's early strategies and gaining support. The PLO gained international recognition as the representative of the Palestinian people. This was a significant achievement, as it brought the Palestinian cause to the global stage. It secured a seat at the United Nations, symbolizing a major diplomatic victory and providing a platform to voice Palestinian aspirations.
Hamas, an Islamist movement founded in 1987, emerged as a major force during the First Intifada, a Palestinian uprising against Israeli occupation. The First Intifada marked a significant shift in the dynamics of the Palestinian resistance. Hamas rejected any negotiations with Israel and called for its destruction. This hardline stance set it apart from other Palestinian factions. It gained popularity by providing social services in the Palestinian territories. These services included education, healthcare and welfare, which endeared Hamas to many Palestinians.
The rise of the PLO and Hamas reflected the diversity of Palestinian aspirations and strategies for achieving their goals. Each group represented different facets of the Palestinian struggle. The PLO's shift towards diplomacy in the later years, culminating in the Oslo Accords, was met with resistance from Hamas, which continued to advocate for armed struggle. This divergence in approach highlighted the internal conflicts within the Palestinian movement. This internal division within the Palestinian movement has complicated efforts to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The differing ideologies and methods have made it challenging to present a united front in negotiations.